Hello, my name is Benjamin, but you may call me Jam. Let's have another Exercises in Blue. It's a Magic the Gathering video series where we draw lots of cards, try to interact responsibly at the table, and we win by sending waves of creatures into honest combat. No, it's not Opposite Day, it's Token Creatures Day. Think about it. In a video series where I'm making 99 different versions of the same mono blue commander deck, it stands to reason that some of those decks are going to bring some good old-fashioned beatdown. And while we could go tall, eventually we will go tall, today we're going wide by producing a prodigious plentitude of pseudo-physical fighters as far as the eye can see. Of course, Mono Blue is not traditionally known for prioritizing corporeal prowess, and I dare say it's garnered a reputation for exceptionally antisocial tendencies. But sometimes you have to defy the standardized stereotypes, not by denying your true nature, but by cultivating a friend group that meshes with your true nature. And they help you to nurture the things in life that make you who you are, the things that make life worth living, which for me is card draw. Let me back up though. Before we get to the nurturing friend groups, let's get to EIB expectations. Lands, 35, a smidge more than usual, and a slightly more diverse variety than usual for reason that I'll get to later. Baby queens, yes, but only 10. Max speed is crucial, but we really want to blend them in with the rest of the friend group. Which brings us to the friend group. Among Vinwixit's peers, pals, and professional acquaintances, there is a certain category of creature that brings their own posse, and they love to draw a crowd whenever we draw a card. More specifically, whenever we draw 2 cards, but with Vinwixit Online, every card we draw is 2 cards. Most of the tokens created by these friends are practically baby queens in their own right. We've got fairies, spirits, thopters, and drakes. But we're also getting ramp from Eldrazi spawn, chip damage from unblockable detectives, free permanence from slain illusions, which does include lands, and many multiplying monocular minions. We're also working for the weekend, except in this scenario, the weekend is Krakens. But not all friends concern themselves with card draw, some of them just like to see a non-creature spell being cast. We've got birds, more drakes, a swirling mess of upsetting metal, a swirling mess of flying sharks, and a flying shark that produces a swirling mess of upsetting metal. Finally, we have tentacle porn, and something even more powerful than tentacle porn, Field of the Dead, the deck's only game changer and the reason why we have all of those different lands with different names. I still classify this deck as bracket 2 because this has got to be the least powerful, most honest, least impressive, most misguided way for any player to ever produce their own Zomburger employees. And I make this reference in jest, but you are allowed to represent your tokens nearly however you want to. More on that later. With friends like these, we're looking to draw a little baby bit on everybody's turn, us plus all 3 of our opponents, so a few different ways that we can achieve that. There's the low cost / no cost instants and sorceries, spendy modal spells which will net us a couple of cards while also letting us retain our role as being responsible co-op players, overpriced boomerangs that we can kick if we're desperate, and classic commander workhorses. Of course, if we ran Mystic Remora or Rhystic Study, we'd be drawing cards around the clock just about guaranteed, right? Listen, this deck is about friendship, not just through the metaphorical gameplay, but for the actual human players as well. Typically, taxes is not how one achieves this goal. If we're playing these cards, we're not making friends. Now, because my numerous ridiculous alternatives cost way too much mana, we're supplementing our usual ramp package with artifacts that can synergize with having a few spare tokens lying around. We've also got 2 mana rocks and a legendary fish that can give us a little something extra around the clock, and of course, there is the construct couple. They're always lovely. Maybe they also help to justify using Field of the Dead. But what about The end game. Well, if things go poorly, we've got a couple of real big umbrellas here, so that we can protect everybody, or at least the core friend group, if that's all we can get. The win cons, on the other hand, are not going to be alt. Genuine, go-wide, creature-based beatdown. I said it, and I meant it. So the ideal win cons are just going to be exponential exacerbations of our already very big board state. Rite of Replication can sextuple one of our posse-providing friends. Gets out of hand real fast. Krang the All-Powerful will double up any of our friends who trigger off of card draw, or double card draw. For 7 mana, you'd think that Multiversal Incursion would at least have the decency to copy our creature tokens as well as our non-token creatures. No such luck. Oh well, for 9 mana, Clone Legion will copy all of our token creatures, and our token-creating creatures. Finally, you know that I love me some Mercadian jank, so the last card for the deck absolutely has to be Shoving Match. Blue instant, until the end of turn, all creatures gain the ability tap to tap target creature. We do this with a full board of creature tokens, it's gonna look like the last act of Blazing Saddles. Yeah, usually mono red is the color that stops creatures from blocking. But you gotta remember that mono blue is the color that takes the concept of usual, folds it into a paper airplane, and throws it away. For our next deck, we are turning to a Magic the Gathering format other than Commander, while still trying to create a Commander deck. I'm making 99 variants. It's gonna get a little weird now and then. Today, for deck 2, we're going Type 2 and drawing inspiration from the Standard format. Long before the popularization of EDH and Commander, but still not quite as vintage as Vintage. Standard, to my mind, is the classic format. 60 card minimum, 4 copies maximum, constantly fluctuating card selection as expansion sets cycle in and out of rotation, players competing at world level tournaments. For better or for worse, the good old days. Honestly, I haven't played this format in earnest in decades. But today, it will be our North Star as we attempt to create a truly very regular deck. As you might know or can imagine, several crucial differences between Standard and Commander. So how do we want to do this? Well, no matter what the format is, this is Exercises in Blue, so you know how we do. We got 34 of those, 15 of these. 15? It's an odd number. Literally. It's not even divisible by 4. Not cleanly, at least. Look, we're not dropping down to 60 cards in a Commander deck. We're keeping it 99 with Vinwixit on top. And we could keep ourselves confined to standard legal expansion sets. At the time of recording, this spans from Magic Foundations and the Wilds of Eldraine all the way to Star Trek, eventually. But the thing is, I already have a forthcoming Exercises in Blue deck that's built around set restrictions. Today, I'm more interested in racking up 4 copies of a card in a singleton format. So let's just go with that. But we still will respect the 2026 standard banned list. So we will refrain from using "This Town Ain't Big Enough" or "Proft's Eidetic Memory." Banned? Okay. To start off our counting by 4, baby queens. We've got 1/1s who let us touch cards, 1/1s who mess with our opponents, 1/1s who can't be blocked very easily, and 1/1s who can't be blocked at all. For our land base and for ramp, I like the idea of leaning more into the inherently competitive nature of Standard, so we'll include a quartet of generous mana rocks, 4 different sources that tap for 2 colorless, including Ancient Tomb, which is a game changer, but it's just colorless. It's fine. Although, speaking of game changers, we can get 4 legal Moxen in Commander. Amber, Opal, Diamond, and Crone. It's a clean quartet. The last 2 are game changers. That's okay, we'll just make this a bracket 3 deck. Only 3 game changers. Card draw's gonna be a little silly, but I do think it really embraces the theme of having 4 copies of a single card. Gotta have the thirsty draw, of course. They finally gave us the 4th one back in Lorwyn Eclipsed, so we show gratitude. We also have 4 wheels, but specifically, my favorite type, one-sided wheels. This is a competitive game. I'm not trying to replenish my opponent's hands. They're my foes. Speaking of my foes' hands, Mono Blue has 4 copies of 1-drop card draw spells that let us take a little peek at our opponent's hands. Spicy kind of spell, probably won't make us overwhelmingly popular. We're really just using it for the card draw. Now, removal is a crucial component of any competitive card game, whether it's 4-player or 1-on-1. Our removal package is also going to fit neatly and nicely into the little 4-cornered squares of card selection. There's the 4-mana Pseudo Fogs for noping out of the combat phase. Subpar Boomerangs with possible kicker options. Yes, they're back for some reason. 1-drop Instants, which soften the blow of Hard Denial by offering up a creature token consolation prize. Spendy modal instants that can adapt to all sorts of different mid-game or late-game situations. And you know what else Mono Blue has 4 of? Ways to end the turn. Usually extremely expensive to cast, that's why we got all those generous mana rocks, but they're extremely powerful. Think about it. It is the hardest pass on a potentially lethal combat phase. The biggest counterspell that does not care if the spells being countered say that they can't be countered. They're being exiled. Yeah, anybody who likes Swords to Plowshares, this is Swords to Plowshares before their creature gets off the plane. Coming up on the last 8 cards of the deck, 2 sets of 4. We do want to win, right? Blue has a varied, diverse selection of alternate win conditions. We can narrow it down to 4 by focusing on the theme of empty library synergy. This means Jeth and Jesu, of course, but it's also Ormos, love Ormos, and the Living Conundrum, although the Living Conundrum's not really very powerful, is it? You know who else likes an empty library? Thassa's Oracle. That would be more than 3 game changers, though. We'd be right back in bracket 4 again. Oh, wait. This is supposed to be a standard deck. Squeezed dry of all of its fairness. Ruthlessly competitive. Brutally powerful. Thoracle it is. And finally, since we've given up on the concept of having friends, let's square off the 99 with Rhystic Study, Mystic Remora, Cyclonic Rift, why the heck not, and how about the One Ring? Yeah, who would have thought a 0-power card draw commander like Vinwixit Verbose Host might actually benefit from an indestructible artifact that gives you increasingly powerful card draw while also giving you a turn with protection from everything. And while we're at it, let's go back and swap in some more game changers for the Mana Rock section. Who needs Arc Reactor when I can Grim Monolith, you know what I'm saying? Oh, and the wannabe Boomerangs have gotta go. We'll just swap them out with free counter spells, whatever. It's just more game changers on game changers, right? Oh man, should I add the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale? And they say power corrupts. Links to both decks will live down in the video description. If you have any suggestions for either of these decks, I am open to persuasion. Comment away. Not that it terribly matters whether a deck is designed for friendliness or ferocity. Honestly, this entire video series really is the trading card game equivalent of building ships in bottles. But who knows? Maybe I'll get invited onto some other YouTubist's channel and I'll have to put my mana where my mouth is. Maybe my version of a midlife crisis involves signing up for a CEDH tournament. Or maybe I'll just make 99 commander decks, give myself a high five, and go right back to the novels, poems, plays, and picture books that I was already working on before all of this madness started. I don't know what the future holds. All I do know is that you may still call me Jam. And for those of you who are watching and or listening, I thank you for your time and attention. Mwah. Oh, right. Representing creature tokens. You want to go back to being sweetie pies? So in Magic, tokens can be represented by anything that's a physical object, fits onto the game space, and can be suitably used for different gameplay actions like tapping to attack. Also, they must avoid being confused with other real, actual magic cards, and if you're in public, you want to keep them appropriate for the gameplay environment. But other than the timeless, inscrutable riddle of reading the room, anything goes as long as your playgroup okays it. So for instance, there's Lego, Funko, Amiibo, D&D figurines, blind box figurines, action figures, homemade creations, and of course, stuffies and plushies, or as we call them around these parts, Couch Guardians. Make sure that you supplement them with sticky notes so that you can indicate in-play quantities, both tapped and untapped, and invite your fellow players to do the same. Just make sure nobody's macking on any messy snacks while they're in play.